Hey everyone, it's Nate. Asians in Hockey is brought to you by Chinese Republicans, a biting new satirical drama from the Roundabout Theatre Company in New York City. Set in 2019 New York, Chinese Republicans follows four Chinese-American women working in high-powered finance jobs who meet for monthly dim sum lunches to talk about work, ambition, and life. What begins as mentorship and support takes a sharp turn when Katie, a bright-eyed 24-year-old new to the workforce, joins the group, slowly exposing rivalry, generational tension, and ethical compromise as each woman tries to steer her toward what they're certain is best. Written by Alex Lin, a thrilling new Asian-American voice in theater recently named to Forbes 30 Under 30, and directed by Chay Yew, the play is a funny, smart, workplace drama about ambition, how hard you're willing to work, what you're willing to ignore, and who you might step on to get ahead. It explores themes of assimilation, code switching, corporate feminism, and questions the idea that proximity to power automatically equals progress for minorities in the workplace, all without telling you who's right or who's wrong. Starring Jennifer Ikeda, Julie Lee, Anna Zalvesen, and Emmy Award winner Jodie Long, Chinese Republicans is a play for anyone who has ever tried to succeed inside a system that wasn't built for them. The show runs at the Harold and Miriam Steinberg Center for Theater, with previews beginning February 5th, opening night on February 26th, and closing night on April 5th. Tickets are on sale now. Learn more at roundabouttheater.org.
You're listening to Whoa! Potluck.
Welcome back to the Asians in Hockey podcast. As always, I'm your host, Nate Nakao. So, last week, I got a chance to hang out with friends of the show Courtney Cito and Chad Soon. Courtney is putting together events for Asian folks in the Ottawa area to get together outdoors, and last weekend she held a community skate at the beautiful River Oak Skating Trail in Ottawa. Chad flew out from BC to join the skate and give a book talk, where he shared Larry Kwong's story with the group. Now, if you'd like to hear more about Larry Kwong, who was the first non-Indigenous hockey player to break the NHL's color barrier many years before Willie O'Ree became the first black player in the league, head back to the very first episode of the podcast, where you can hear the full story from Chad and me. I chatted with Courtney for a couple minutes at the end of the skate to learn more about the Asian community building activities that she's working on. So I'm here at the River Oak Skating Trail in Ottawa with friend of the show, Courtney Cito, who organized like an Asian community skates for people in the Ottawa community to get together and just have some fun outside. And I'll let Courtney kind of talk about what this was. It was a blast, and thank you for the invitation. And thanks for hanging out and just chatting with me for a couple minutes today.
Thanks, Nate, and thanks for coming all the way up to join us for the skate. So the event today, I've been working with a group called Outdoor Asian in the United States. It's a grassroots community organization that tries to get Asians outdoors together in inclusive and accessible ways, and they've got a bunch of different chapters across the United States. And so I've been learning from them how to organize community, and I just wanted to see how it works in practice. Would it work in Canada? And is there interest for kind of Asian community building in the outdoors here? And we had over 30 people sign up for this event, and most of the people I didn't know. So that's a pretty cool turnout. That is really cool. And we also had today Chad Soon come and talk about hockey. What was like your idea with bringing Chad out here to talk about the sport? Yeah, Outdoor Asian likes to do some educational component in each of their events. And so we were trying to connect the long history of Asians on the ice with the actual physical activity of us being on the ice. So, maybe this gathering is something that our ancestors never really could have dreamed of. And it's pretty cool to see multiple generations out today and strangers talking to each other and making friends and exchanging contact. So, it's been a really great event. Very cool. And are there going to be other events along these lines in the future? What are you looking forward to doing? I'm going to try to plan a hike for the spring, and then we'll just kind of see where the momentum takes us and what people want to do and how engaged people are. And we will see if we can try to create an Outdoor Asian of the North, so as it were. Nice.
Well, this was a lot of fun, Courtney, and I'm so glad that you invited me to come hang out and to skate out here in this beautiful locale. I don't want to do too many commercial type stuff, but I'll give a plug for this place. I've been here a couple times before, the River Oak Skating Trail, and it is gorgeous. There's a whole 3.5 kilometer trail you can explore on ice, as well as just like little mini rinks that are incredibly dangerous because the way they set up the nets here are probably unsafe, but still a whole lot of fun. So thanks, Courtney. Thanks again for putting all of this together and for coming and chatting with me for a couple minutes.
Thanks for promoting the event and being part of the community.
Absolutely.
I want to thank Courtney for putting together such a fun event and for inviting me out, and Chad for the work he does to highlight Larry Kwong's hockey career. Larry deserves to be in the Hockey Hall of Fame for his contributions to the sport. In the show notes of every episode of this podcast, I put a link to a petition that you can sign to get Larry inducted, so head over there and sign it. The petition currently has over 12,000 signatures, so let's keep pushing to get him inducted. I also want to thank those of you who came out to the event. It was great meeting some of you, and if you're jumping into the podcast now as a result of meeting me at the event, welcome. I hope you have fun listening to the show. Later in today's episode, you'll get to hear my conversation with Sang-Yoon Lee, a former short track speed skater and hockey player who also served as a team host for women's ice hockey at the 2018 Olympics in Pyeongchang and as a National Olympic Committee assistant at the 2024 Olympics in Paris. She's also a member of the IOC's Athletes Entourage Commission, so it's fitting that you get to hear from her now as we're about to wrap up the 2026 Olympics at the time I'm recording this. Okay. Before we get too far into the episode, I do have just a few favors to ask of you. First off, if it's safe for you to do so, could you take out your phone right now and send a link to this podcast to one or two of your friends? They don't even have to be hockey fans. I try not to get too in the weeds when it comes to the ins and outs of the sport, or at the very least, I try to keep things as easy to understand for new fans as possible. Second, if you've enjoyed what you've heard from us thus far, I would love it if you could post a quick 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. This is honestly the best way to get the word out about the show and to help us cultivate our audience. To those of you who have left a review, thank you so much for your kind words. I truly appreciate it. Third, if you've been listening to us for a while and you'd like to help out with some of the production and operating costs, you can do that through buymeacoffee.com. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/AsiansInHockey to make a donation. And as a gift, I'll send a cool Asians in Hockey sticker to anyone who donates at least $5 US. Now, to reiterate, I promise to never charge a subscription fee for the podcast or anything like that. I'm just grateful to you for listening and sharing. And finally, I would love to hear directly from you with your thoughts, your stories, and feedback. You can reach out to me over at asiansinhockey.com/contact and sending me a voice note or an email. It's always great to hear your thoughts on some topics, feedback on stuff that I've covered in the past, or even your own stories of how you got into hockey. I'm actually very interested in learning about how you found yourself involved in the sport of hockey, whether as a fan, a player, or even just as a casual viewer. If you sent your story my way, I just might read your message or play your voice note on an upcoming episode, with your permission, of course. This little Asian hockey community continues to grow, and I am so grateful to everyone who has provided support, connected me with other Asian folks in the sport, or just sent me a note of encouragement. You all are truly the best. Thank you so much for being a part of this community. After the break, we'll have some Olympic stuff to talk about. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Chay Yew, and I'm the host of All the Asians on Star Trek, the podcast in which I interview all the Asians on Star Trek. I'm talking to actors, writers, directors, stunt people, background extras. You know, all the Asians on Star Trek. Find out more at alltheasiansonstartrek.com. Part of the Potluck Podcast Collective. Live long and prosper.
Okay, before I talk about anything else, I feel the need to rant about something. Every 4 years, hockey gets a boost in viewership thanks to the Olympics. New fans make their way to the sport, and as women's hockey gains even more popularity than ever before, thanks to the PWHL, interest in the game is once again reaching new heights. But, as with a lot of activities, gatekeepers end up making their way into the conversation. I recently came across a reel on Instagram that said, "What sentence immediately tells you someone knows nothing about hockey?" And the comments section had a few funny entries like, "Go USA," or "I'm a Team Canada fan," or "I know nothing about hockey." But most of the comments were statements like, "When they call it a stadium," or "When's halftime," or "When they call a penalty a foul," or "Why are there 6 players on the ice without a goalie?" or really any genuine question. Now, to be honest, about 10 or 15 years ago, I might have jumped into a thread like that with similar responses. It is fun to feel like you're part of the in crowd and share a laugh at the expense of the people who aren't as knowledgeable about the sport as you are. But over the past few years, I've become tired of gatekeeping behavior. At some point, we've all wanted to learn about something, whether it's a new hobby, or a long-standing sci-fi franchise with decades of lore, or a new sport that we want to try. It's already intimidating enough to take the first few steps into that new world, but then to come across long-term fans and participants who make it even harder to enjoy can be very discouraging. Now, hockey fans over the years have sometimes complained about how this sport doesn't get the attention it deserves. Why do more people watch the English Premier League or the NFL than the NHL? Don't they see how much more exciting hockey is than football, or worse yet, American football? But then they turn around and laugh at someone who doesn't know what the trapezoid is or why a goalie might leave the ice for a delayed penalty. Or they might complain about the way heated rivalry fans watch the sport and make fun of the memes that fans of that Crave TV show post in response to real-life games. And yes, there is certainly critique to be made about the way this subset of fans interact with real-life athletics, but that is another conversation entirely. Oh, and don't get me started on the attitudes I've seen online regarding women's hockey and their fans. The amount of times I've seen comment sections referring to real hockey as a way to dismiss women's hockey is honestly staggering and disheartening. Quick sidebar. As someone who has been watching both women's and men's hockey regularly since the last few years of the Julie Chu era, I'm of the opinion that what the women are currently playing is real hockey, and the men are playing a version of hockey overly interrupted by fighting. And yes, I know fighting has dropped significantly since its heyday in the 80s, but recently it's seen an uptick in frequency. Now, I'm not one of those people who thinks fighting should be abolished from the sport. I do enjoy seeing some extracurricular activity if it happens organically as a result of the run of play during a game. I also recognize its value for shifting and controlling momentum in a particularly scrappy game. But fighting is seeing a resurgence in the NHL, and the way it interrupts the flow of the game, and especially when guys drop the gloves right after the puck drop, it's just tiring. Anyway, all of that to say, we're seeing quite the boom in popularity for the sport, and if you want to see hockey continue to grow, you really need to stop gatekeeping the game. Let new fans learn. Embrace the questions. Ignore the pop culture references if you don't understand, instead of complaining about them, because those are the entry points for a lot of new fans. You can either enjoy the evolution of hockey as it grows, or watch it progress without you while you pop in old, worn-out VHS copies of Don Cherry's Rock'em Sock'em and whine about how the game just isn't what it used to be. You and your buddies can gatekeep hockey so effectively that it stops growing and only crusty old curmudgeons are left holding on to a sport that has faded into irrelevance, or you can join the new fans coming to the sport through things like heated rivalry and the PWHL and ride this new high as hockey becomes more and more popular. Because when you think about it, isn't that what you really want anyway? We'll be right back.
Hey, do you enjoy reading, or are you thinking about getting back into reading?
Do you want to diversify and decolonize your bookshelf? And are you interested in exploring exciting stories from Asian and Asian American voices?
Then you should check out Books and Boba, a book club and podcast dedicated to books by Asian and Asian American authors.
Each month on Books and Boba, we pick a book by an Asian author to read and discuss on the show.
We read a variety of genres, including contemporary and historical fiction, sci-fi and fantasy, romance and cozy mysteries, and so much more.
Our past book club picks have included Pachinko by Minjin Lee, Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Ribeye, Yellowface by R.F. Kwong, and The Fortunes of Jaded Women by Carolyn Quinn.
We also chat with some amazing Asian authors on the podcast, as well as review the latest publishing news in Asian American literature.
Listen to us now on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you listen to podcasts, or learn more by looking us up at booksandboba.com.
Part of the Potluck Podcast Collective.
At the time I'm recording this, the Olympics are just about to end. The women have wrapped up their tournament, and the men are about to play their gold medal game. First off, congratulations to Team USA for their historic gold medal victory. What an amazing game. It was exactly what I was hoping for. Now, as happy as I was to see the US put up such a dominant performance throughout the tournament, outscoring the competition 31-2 and posting the longest ever shutout streak, shout out to goaltender Aaron Frankel, at 352 minutes and 17 seconds, or 17 straight periods, I wasn't so thrilled to see Canada almost limp their way to the gold medal game, just barely squeezing through the semifinal game against Switzerland. Sure, the preliminaries and quarterfinals were fantastic for them, but their group stage game against the US was tough to watch. Their recent performances against the US at the IHF Women's World Championship and the Rivalry Series show that the balance of power in women's hockey is shifting away from Canada and to the US. Seeing those veterans like Sarah Nurse and Marie-Philippe Poulin put up such a tireless performance against the energetic youth of Caroline Harvey and Layla Edwards was just so satisfying. But what an exciting moment for Edwards and Hilary Knight to connect on a crucial tying goal late in the third to send the game into overtime. I was gushing. Now, I'm not thrilled with elimination in final games being decided in 3-on-3 overtime, but that's a topic for another time. Regardless, that perfectly timed pass from Taylor Heisey to Megan Keller had me on my toes, and Keller's last-second deke and backhand to beat Anne-Renée Desbiens was one of the most thrilling moments in hockey for me. It absolutely beats the 2018 gold medal victory that the U.S. had over Canada, and as much of a fan I was of the Lamoureux sisters, and as nail-biting a moment as that was, a gold medal game should never be decided in a shootout. At least, that's my opinion, which is why the 2026 gold medal game was so much better. Anyway, a huge congratulations to Team USA on winning the gold medal, and congratulations to Captain Hilary Knight on your retirement from the Olympics, as well as your engagement to Team USA speed skater Brittany Bowe. You have had quite the amazing Olympics this year, and honestly, I couldn't think of a better way to say goodbye to this chapter of your career. Now, if you want to see Hilary Knight continue her career, she is still playing in the PWHL for the Seattle Torrent, so be sure to tune into those games once they get back into action. The PWHL will be starting up again on February 27th with the reopening game between the Montreal Victoire and the New York Sirens. Okay, let's talk about the men for a little bit. So last week, I actually forgot to mention Jogas Siegenthaler, who plays for Team Switzerland. Now, honestly, Olympic player stats are a little bit annoying to have to click around for, and I want to be able to get this episode published tonight so that it's out before the gold medal game. So all I can really say without spending too much time clicking around the Olympic website is that he didn't score any goals at this year's tournament. In the group stage, Switzerland beat France 4-0, lost to Canada 5-1, and beat Czechia in overtime 4-3. In the first round of the knockout stage, they beat Italy 3-0, and they lost to Finland in the quarterfinal 3-2 in overtime. Now, the only other Asian player I'm aware of is, of course, our podcast's captain, Nick Suzuki. Suzuki's performance at the Olympics has been pretty solid, but not especially noteworthy, with a couple of exceptions. In the first game of the group stage, Suzuki scored the last goal of Team Canada's 5-0 win over Czechia. He didn't feature heavily or score a goal in Canada's 5-1 win against Switzerland or in their 10-2 rout of France. However, In the quarterfinal round of the elimination stage, with just 3 minutes and 27 seconds left in regulation, our Japanese-Canadian captain stepped up and delivered exactly what we needed. A deflection off a long wrister from Devin Taves to tie up the game at 3-3. Canada would go on to win the game 4-3 in overtime. There was some interesting controversy at this game, with Czechia scoring their third goal with 6 players on the ice, but since Canada still ended up winning the game, it all kind of worked itself out. But without Nick Suzuki, this could have been a much bigger controversy. Canada would go on to win their semifinal game against Finland 3-2 without much work from Suzuki. At least on the stat sheet. Now, at the time I'm recording this, the gold medal game is tomorrow morning, and just like the women's tournament, the men's tournament is wrapping up with a final between the US and Canada. And also, just like the women's tournament, Canada's captain was injured in a game against Czechia and will be playing hurt against the US. Marie-Philippe Poulain for the women and Sidney Crosby for the men. But unlike the women's tournament, I will not be rooting for my home country, and I will instead be cheering for Nick Suzuki and my wife's home country, the True North, strong and free. Bill Guerin can go bite the blue line for all I care. We'll be right back.
Life gets a little crazy sometimes. Sometimes it's confusing, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's beautiful, and sometimes it can just piss us off. Enter First of All Podcast. It's a safe space for real conversations about the things that we all struggle with, celebrate, contemplate, and work through in our daily lives. I'm your host, Mindy Chang. I'm an actor, filmmaker, and entrepreneur with a colorful background, a full life, and brilliant friends who I love to unpack life with to share with all of you. They are everyday people like you and me, ranging from award-winning artists, cultural icons, powerful CEOs, my hilarious childhood friends, and even my mom. Tune in for honest conversations on mental health, dating, sex, family, career, culture, and everything in between. Listen to First of All wherever you find podcasts, part of the Potluck Podcast Collective.
My guest today is Sang-Yoon Lee, who I think embodies the Olympic spirit better than anyone I've spoken with. Not only is she herself an athlete in short track speed skating and hockey, and not only has she worked in several capacities at the last few Olympic Games, including this one, she founded the Dream League, the very first women's ice hockey league in South Korea. While talking with Sang-Yoon, something became so clear to me. She has such a contagious love and compassion for the girls and young women who are looking for a chance to succeed at sports that only boys have historically been allowed to access. Her passion and motivation led her to build for others what she wished she had for herself as a young girl who didn't feel like the male-dominated sport she loved so much gave her what she needed. This was an incredible conversation, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Welcome back to the show. My guest today is Sang-Yoon Lee, a former athlete in short track speed skating and ice hockey. Her sporting career ignited a deep commitment to promoting sport for social good and advocating for athletes, driving her to pursue a bachelor's degree in international studies and a master's degree in international law. She's contributed meaningfully to the Olympic movement, serving as a team host for women's ice hockey at the Pyeongchang 2018 Olympic Winter Games and as a national Olympic Committee assistant at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. She brought her vision to life by founding the Dream League, Korea's first women's ice hockey league, alongside development programs aimed at empowering young female athletes. She also serves as a member of the IOC Athletes Entourage Commission, where she shares insights from her athletic experience to advance sports, governance, and athlete representation. Sang-Yoon, thank you for joining me here on the Asians in Hockey podcast. It is such an honor to have you with us today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me, and what an amazing introduction. I'm honored.
So before we get into your work, I do want to learn a little bit about your origin in hockey. When you think back to yourself first falling in love with the sport, what was it about the game of hockey that hooked you emotionally?
Yeah, it goes all the way back to my first and second sport, short track skating and speed skating. I'd say I really peaked in terms of performance when I was doing speed skating, but then I soon realized right after I peaked in terms of my national record and stuff, I really felt the need to really break my boundaries in terms of socializing and pursuing more of teamwork skills. And that's how I really got into ice hockey. It wasn't really easy, and to be honest, it was mostly challenging times for me. As you can imagine, in Korea, as a female athlete, I was always the only girl in any team that I've been associated with. So it was a really challenging journey. But at the same time, as much as it was challenging, it has taught me so much values that I still bring up to these days. So yeah, I'd say those a teamwork sense and really pushing my boundaries were main reasons why I think I was really emotionally committed to ice hockey.
So, as you've mentioned, and you in previous interviews, you have spoken extensively about being a girl and a student athlete in Korea, but less directly about what it means to be Asian in hockey, a sport that's still dominated by Western norms and white-centric practices. How has your identity as an Asian woman shaped the way that you navigate hockey spaces, both on the ice and in leadership roles behind the scenes?
Yeah, exactly. As an Asian woman, especially back in my days when I was a student athlete, mostly during the teenage years, I'd say we had to redefine the sport of ice hockey in our own terms. The hockey that were played in the NHL or American major leagues were quite different from where we're really facing geographically in Korea, and also mentally. Athletes were, I say, the role models or the games that we really look up to were a bit too far away from where we can really aim at. So I think that was the biggest issue slash like reality gap in terms of what Asians would perceive about ice hockey. And also, as you can imagine, especially in Asia, like the audience is really not there. There's zero hockey population or fans that are around hockey, unless you're playing or you somehow got lucky enough to be able to afford all that. So yeah, it's weird because, like, in terms of hockey community, we're quite neglected and we're minor basically. But then in terms of within our society, in Korean society, let's say, we're often perceived as privileged, and those who are playing luxurious sport where really not many people can dream of. So we were kind of, I'd say it was a weird feeling that we were neglected from both sides, from the sport of ice hockey and also from our own country, our own sporting community. So yeah, I'd say that those were the double layered swords for us when we were playing hockey back in my country.
So you've in the past described your early experiences with unsafe coaching environments and later emphasized the importance of female coaches. From your perspective, what structural changes do you think are still needed in hockey, particularly in Asia, to address those power imbalances between coaches, institutions, and young women athletes?
Although these days we're really trying to push the boundaries of gender norms and all that, I say the hidden layered perception about female coaches or potential coaches are still strongly there. No one would verbally admit it that that's how they believe so. But when it comes to reality, let's say there's a retired athlete who wants to start coaching in terms of their career. She starts looking for opportunities and ask for teams if they need a coach. Yes, they would be introduced to some roles up until assistant coaching role, where often they are given the role of taking care of the girls or small kids in the locker room, helping out them lacing up their skates or so on. But they will never be able to really aim for taking the actual coaching role and really
Right.
doing the high level of coaching. Again, no one will verbally admit it that this is happening, but there's a like microaggression, let's say, against them. That that's really not for them. And they would often blame you're not skilled enough, or I mean, women's hockey's the level of women's hockey is still misrepresented and so on, right? It will still carry on when it comes to coaching, because you are not that of a great athlete. Obviously you cannot be a great coach. So that's I think what's really deeply insulated in people's minds. And oftentimes the head coaches or the one in leadership are male counterparts. So this is the big gender gap that we're facing on. Although the gender gap in terms of athletes, those who are beginning to play hockey, has been like a lot gotten better. When it comes to coaching, it's really, I don't really see any progress here.
So that seems to be something that you were trying to address with the foundation of the Dream League. So let's talk a little bit about that. You founded the Dream League in 2022. Could you share with us how it started, and even the purpose, and perhaps just for a baseline of understanding for everybody, because I'm sure many of our listeners have never even heard of the Dream League. What is the Dream League? Tell us its story. And then what problems were you trying to solve? How has it evolved in the 3 or 4 years since it's launched?
Yes, thanks for this opportunity to introduce the Dream League. The Dream League is basically the first ever women's ice hockey league, national ice hockey league in Korea. And aside from the games, I really wanted to develop the side programs for the girls, to develop more sense of belonging, personal growth, not just as a hockey player, but also as a young girl who is looking for a role in their own community. So yeah, the holistic program itself is called the Dream League. We have been having the games mostly during the summertime, because most of the players are at school, and that's the only time where they can really commit to the games. However, we are really looking forward to expand the great games in terms of participants, and also how the length of the seasons. So yeah, that's where we're at, and it's been really growing ever since I launched in 2022. We started out with 6 teams, around 120 players in the first season, and obviously there was no division whatsoever. However, each year we've been doubling and tripling in terms of the number of participants, the level of the games. We are now looking at more than 400 girls playing in 4 different kind of groups, and they can now play based on their level. And now we have more than 25 teams, I think, or nationwide. So that's a big growth, and I'm really proud of what we're doing.
Wow, that's really exciting. So the Dream League has often been described as something of a first, or a pipeline, but it also seems like a direct response to institutional neglect of women's hockey. Do you see the Dream League as an act of resistance against existing hockey systems?
Yeah, let's be brave here. It is. I mean, I would have to expose those realities. Obviously, the national federation were doing their best effort, creating the games within the national team players or somewhere close to that. However, there was no opportunity for anyone who wants to play and take part to really join the opportunity. So that was indeed a response from my side to really push the boundaries of what they're doing and really proving that this is possible, because everyone was saying like, why isn't this happening? Like, everything's there, the resources, the players, the passion is there. Like, why not? Why is it not happening? It really required just one person's big willingness to make this happen. So yeah, I'd say it was indeed a sort of a response to where we were at the time.
Mm-hmm. So listening to your story, there is a striking overlap between elite sports culture and the broader Asian expectation of overwork and excellence. Looking back, how do you now think about burnout, rest, and sustainability, especially for young girls who might see you as a role model in sports and athletics?
In terms of ice hockey, especially as a girl, we have to define leadership and pursuing excellence in our own terms. Ice hockey is a team sport, but obviously we are so used to being isolated and not included in the dialogue in the locker room. So in order to play what we want to play, we had to really try to approach to the major counterparts of the team, the boys, the male coaches, and so on, to really prove that we can do this and we can be a part of it. So I'd say that was one big challenge. And also, when you play hockey as a girl in Korea or community like it is in Korea, back in the days when I was playing, if you're a girl and you're playing hockey, you were naturally considered as a potential candidate for national team. So if you want to be an elite player, you gotta become a national team player, and that was the only way to really prove that you are a national elite athlete. There's no certificate or whatsoever to prove that you are elite in ice hockey. So that really creates the system where an institution that's in charge of the national team taking the whole control of an athlete's career path. So this structural, restriction / limit really limits the athlete's potential as well. So yeah, I say those are the main challenges that we're still facing, and that's why I really developed the development program aside from the games in the Dream League, because it requires us to grow extra strength, extra grit, not being, not keeping our chins high, although these things are happening. So yeah, I say those are the main challenges.
Okay. So before we dive deeper into talking about systems and the future, I want to do just a quick, for fun, rapid fire round of questions. So we'll do this. You have 5 to 10 seconds. The first answer that comes to mind, no more than 15 seconds to answer each question. Okay. So
Yeah,
here we
I promise.
go. We'll try. Okay. First, your pregame fuel. Are you more of a structured pregame meal person or whatever I can get down before puck drop kind of person?
I say I'm quite structured. Chicken pasta.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. What's your hype mix before a game? Do you go with hip hop, K-pop, something else, total silence?
It's either hip hop or a good orchestra music.
Orchestra music. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. And we're talking classical or are we talking like film scores?
Classical, mostly.
Classical? Okay. Interesting. Okay. Do you have a position bias? So as a player, what position did you love to play most? Do you like being up front? Do you like being like on the wing? Do you like being in the center? Or do you prefer playing defense?
Defense, of
Defense.
course.
Okay. Okay. So who is your hockey hero? Growing up, was there a hockey player, women's or men's, who made you feel like, okay, I belong here?
Um, my role model was Megan Keller, and still
Oh,
she is.
okay. Wow.
But as an Asian player, I really enjoyed watching Akane Shiga playing
Okay.
with a Richo.
Nice. Um, let's see. Okay, so let's talk some Dream League stuff. So when you watch Dream League games now, do you feel like you're more of a coach, an organizer, or at your heart, are you still a player?
That's a tough question, Deep in my heart, like I'm itching inside. Like I want to play so bad, but I'm always like calming myself, like in my head, like stop. I have to be anything. I have to be able to take care of girls' safety, take care of the rules, take care of the operation side of it, volunteers, media. Like I really grew as a person, like in a multi-dimensional way through the Dream League. So like I am a huge beneficiary of this whole initiative. So yeah, this is something that I'm really appreciative of.
Gotcha. Okay, and last rapid fire question. Let's talk rule changes. If you could change one thing about how women's hockey is run, either in Korea or globally, what would it be?
I mean, it's already being done. Like
Okay.
PW is already allowing checking, so
Okay.
that was really refreshing to watch. I really hope that happens in all levels of games.
Okay, so we got to see a preview of that in the PWHL, and your hope is that checking gets introduced across the board. I hope so too. I think it's such an important part of the game itself, that to be playing it without any kind of checking feels somehow wrong.
Yeah, it really restricts the
It
player's
does.
ability to really push for the game.
Mhm.
It's I'd say it's as obviously it has to be within the rules and it has
Yeah.
to be safe enough.
Mhm.
But I think it's a part of hockey.
Yeah.
It's a part of spirit. So
Mhm.
yeah,
No,
I think it should
absolutely.
happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like having these kinds of questions built in because I do want to remind folks that, yes, we are talking about institutions, we're talking about programs, we're talking about systems and cultures and shifts in cultures. But at the end of the day, hockey is still something that's deeply personal for us and speaks to our or the human element of the game. So yeah, with that, let's go ahead and shift back to talking a little more big picture. The Dream League is increasingly international within Asia. So speaking not just in Korea, but now let's dream a little bit broader. What does Pan-Asian women's hockey ecosystem look like to you in the next 10 to 15 years? And what are some obstacles that you think would be hardest to overcome?
It's such a big market. There's so much space to grow. I say it is one of the biggest market that we can grow and work on, because individually the players are really proving their potential. And watching, especially from the girls from the Dream League, being able to go on to NCAA programs and really, showing excellence there. I really see the potential. And I believe it is also happening in any other Asian countries as well. I've seen many players from Singapore. I've communicated with some Chinese and Japanese players, obviously, and that's why we have brought the Chinese Taipei players in our last season. So yeah, the Dream League is really aiming to make it as an official Asian Women's League. That's our one big end goal. The biggest challenge would be that because we had to kind of push our boundaries individually. How we approach the growth of game can be quite different. Obviously, we speak different languages. It's not like America and Canada, right?
Right.
They're all speaking English, and Europeans obviously they're speaking English, but Asians, like, we still have many population that are not speaking English or any other languages aside from that language. So it's gonna take a longer time for us to communicate through what we're really looking at, and to be on the same page. So yeah, it will take longer time. That's one big obstacle, but I don't see it as a forever obstacle. It's definitely something we can overcome. My personal dream is to really be that bridge between each countries, and from between Asia and the mainstream European American market, so that we can learn from each other. And from our side, we can provide so many players who can join their community in the elite level in American and the European market. And we can also learn from PW. We are already learning a lot from PW, bringing the players from there to coach for us. So I really think a lot more interaction and us trying to communicate with each other will make this happen for sure.
No, absolutely. And I do look forward to seeing that kind of growth continue in the game, both on the men's side, but also especially on the women's side. So you've emphasized in the past this idea of creating pathways beyond simply playing, like, for example, coaching, officiating, administration. In your view, where does real decision-making power still sit in women's hockey? And how can Asian women realistically access or even disrupt some of these spaces, either in Asia or in the North American markets like in Canada and the US?
I'd say it's money. It's simple. We need more sponsors.
Yeah.
We need to change their perspectives. There are so many resources that we can prove with, but we don't have enough people who are doing that. So as the Walter family did for the PW, we need to find our other Walter families in our own community. I really tried with the Dream League, although it was not that big of amount, it still really made it happen. So yeah, that money is where it can really solve from the fundamental root causes. And then naturally, when the great game grows, athletes will develop, and there will be more potential coaches, there will be more administration going on, there will be more marketing, media. So yeah, as long as the money is there, like, I don't see any problem from up there.
Yeah. And I've heard you refer to hockey as your ex. Yet you found your way back to the sport while you were studying in the UK. What did returning to hockey as an adult on your own terms teach you about ownership, agency, and healing within sports?
Yeah, it almost felt like a whole different sport. As I mentioned, back in Korea, when I was a teenager, I was always the only one isolated, hard times. But in the UK, it was my first time playing in women's game. It was so amazing to have allies in the locker room, and also I've also been exposed to many LGBTQI communities within ice hockey. So really witnessing them, how they negotiate with their identities there, taught me how we can also grow ourselves as minor community. And I'd say the experience in the UK was like a huge role model for the Dream League. I was inspired hugely from the way it was structured, how it was operated, although they had own challenges and still they're there, but and we are in the same division, we are always in the similar rank, like one or two up or high or low.
You're talking IHF rankings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The accessibility was completely different. There were like 6 divisions within the whole country, 6 leagues in the whole country in the UK, whereas in Korea it was none. So yeah, it was a hugely huge moment for me to have that experience, and it was intentional. I chose to do that, play there, get back and get back to my ex temporarily, but now not temporarily because I'm still paying. yeah, it really it was a pleasant meeting reunion with my ex, I'd say.
Mm. And the way that you've described it is somewhat of a story of healing. Could you speak a little bit to that sense of maybe mending some wounds and what those wounds of playing in Korea and feeling isolated, how those were mended by your experience playing in the UK?
Yeah, in my past experience when I was young, it almost felt like there a tunnel without an end. I thought the feeling of loneliness or exclusion would be always there as long as I'm playing hockey. However, it was proven wrong by my recent experience. So that was one big thing. That's why I wanted to bring that sense of belongingness to the girls in the Dream League as well. Also, you can have fun while playing hockey. That was huge. You mentioned how sustainability of an athlete can happen. Having fun is really it. And it was my first time really having fun while playing hockey, and I learned that you can be a great athlete while still having fun. You know, in Asia, often pursuing excellence means no fun, like just go, no break. But it really wasn't. So, obviously, it's something that still many Asians, I think, struggle with, being able to have some breaks and let go of some things. But I want to be that bridge. I want to be that person, an agent who can really introduce that type of values to our players, especially the young ones. And it doesn't have to be the same ice hockey that Americans or Europeans are playing, but we can bring the good sides, positive sides of what they're playing, to our own definition. So yeah, that's I'd say what it means by healing. And yeah.
Yeah. And I think I can very much relate to that sense of feeling isolated while playing hockey. As much as I love the game, there is a certain amount of isolation when playing in a predominantly white region, in a predominantly white sport, where you feel sort of lost in the culture, and my own identity doesn't get the opportunity to flourish, which is why I think conversations like this are so important. And I have found, even through this podcast, I found a sense of community in some like-minded folks who love this sport and look like me, look like us. So it's been a lot of fun and healing in a way to be able to have these conversations. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you often encourage young girls to dream big. So if you were speaking specifically to an Asian girl who loves hockey but feels constrained by family expectations or limited resources or even cultural norms, what is some hard practical advice that you would give to her?
Just be yourself. At the end of the day, what matters is what you want. And it's a bit aggressive to say it out loud, but imagine you're dying tomorrow. What do you want to do? That's what you have to do. I learned this lesson by my own experience, because I had my mom getting 2 times aneurysm rupture in my early 20s, right before Pyeongchang, and that really totally changed my mindset. I was also the young Korean girl who was always caring about what people would perceive about my actions, what are the consequences, thinking way too long term. The reality is, like, it's all not really that important. And you know what's really right for you deep in your heart, but you're just doubting because of all those noises around you. So you really need to learn and really practice, as you mentioned, how to cancel those noises and get in the mindset of centering yourself first. It doesn't mean that you gotta be selfish. You still have to be kind and the same person to be a great player, but your decisions in your life, and in terms of your career path and how you want to behave, what kind of player you want to be, should be based on who you are.
No, absolutely. I think that balance can be so difficult for those of us raised in Asian households, particularly those who are, for me living in the diaspora, but being first generation and having immigrant parents, there's a lot of expectation on how I contribute to the family, how I carry on the family legacy, while at the same time looking around me and seeing this sort of hyper individualized culture that I grew up in, and looking for a balance. What are the healthy pieces of each? Because I don't want to be so hyper individualized as to not caring about the people around me. But I also don't want to sacrifice my individual identity on the altar of caring about my family legacy or my cultural legacy. And so that can be a very difficult balance, but I think it's so important for us to think about our own personal health and our own desires and what we envision for ourselves, both as athletes and as, from my perspective, or where I sit as somebody who's very creative. And so I think that's a powerful piece of advice, to just say, at the end of the day, be yourself. It's so important to take hold of that and to recognize who you are. So thank you for that. When people talk about women's hockey in Korea, or more broadly in Asia, 15, 20 years from now, what do you hope that they say was fundamentally changed because of your work?
As an Asian person, it's really hard to because we often are told to be humble. But I can dream big, So I hope if at least one girl was able to really grow their vision on where they can be in this community, it's a big success. If I could change just one girl's life, that's all that matters to me. And like every day, seeing girls just smiling on the ice, having fun, that's all that matters for me. Obviously, if we dream bigger, we want the whole situation to be changed, but I don't see that happening in one day. Like, if we could create those one girls one by one, and if they could go out there and show themselves and how far they can reach, then I think the potential is we can't really imagine how big that could be. If you ask me about my crazy dreams, I see in the near future one of our girls from the league playing in the P-Dub, coaching, being an agent for those girls would be a great chance for me to really bring on. So the sky's the limit, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Before we go, where can people find you online if they want to follow your work, whether it's regarding the Dream League or yourself or anything else? Is there anything that you would like to plug right here? We'll give you the chance to talk about it. I'll also put links in the show notes, but for anybody who's listening who can't go clicking around in their phones right now, where can people find you and your work?
Yes, please. We've got Instagram account, the Dream League _KR. That's where our main media contents are up there. We're still a small team, so it's a humble space, but that's where you can find the smiles of our girls. And any collaboration inquiries are welcome. We're really looking forward to host more events and games here and there. So hit us up, please. And we've got a website and all the other stuffs I'll share later on.
Okay, Great. And we'll go ahead and put those in the show notes for anyone who's listening, and you get the chance to pull over if you're driving, or wait until you get to a safe place and click around for the Dream League information and where you can follow Sang-yoon and her work online. Sang-yoon, thank you so much for joining me today. This conversation has been so inspiring and enlightening, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors and in your work with the Dream League, and of course with the Olympics coming up. At the time we're recording this, the Olympics are just a short couple of weeks away, so you're about to head for Italy soon, aren't you? So good luck out there, and we'll be in touch. So thanks again.
Thank you for what you're doing. Anytime.
Absolutely.
If you need me, I'm here.
That's it for today's episode. Be sure to tune in next time when it'll be all about hockey fandom with our first full-length fan report. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss out, especially if you're a Philadelphia Flyers fan. Thank you so much for listening. Asians in Hockey is part of the Potluck Podcast Collective and is hosted and produced by Nate Nakao. Contributing producers are Chad Soon and Chris Wu. If you like what you heard, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and share this podcast with your friends. To keep up with us on socials, follow us on Instagram and Threads at Asians in Hockey and on Blue Sky at asiansinhockey.com. You can also find us on Facebook at facebook.com/asiansinhockey. Please feel free to shoot me an email at asiansinhockey@gmail.com, and don't forget to visit asiansinhockey.com for more great content. See you next time on the Asians in Hockey podcast.